The boots stop. Not suddenly. One by one. Gravel crunches, then silence. Someone coughs too loud. Someone else whispers a name, but it's swallowed by the cold air. A folded paper changes hands. No one reads it out loud. Instead, a single sentence is spoken, quietly, almost politely. This order comes from above. The women look at each other. Hollow eyes, sunken faces, fingers numb from hunger. They have followed orders before. For years. But this one is different. The wind rattles the wire fence. A guard clears his throat. Someone drops a metal cup. It echoes longer than it should. One woman notices something strange. The camp ledger is missing. Not burned. Not torn. Gone. Why would an order be given? And then erased? And why were only the women assembled that morning? It is early 1945. Germany is collapsing from the inside out. Cities are rubble, rail lines are broken. Orders contradict each other daily. Across Eastern and Central Europe, POW camps overflow, not just with soldiers but with civilians, auxiliaries, nurses, radio operators. Among them, German women POWs. Some served officially. Some were clerks, drivers, medical aides. Others were taken simply for wearing the wrong uniform, or none at all. Food rations shrink weekly. Rules change without warning. One day, roll call at dawn. The next, no roll call at all. A woman notices her bunk number scratched out in chalk, then rewritten. Another hears guards arguing in whispers at night. A transport truck arrives empty. No destination listed. No return time logged. And in the records office, a clerk quietly removes several pages from a ledger. No one asks why. They are not introduced by name. Names are dangerous here. Instead, they become roles. The former radio operator, who still listens for signals that no longer exist. The nurse, who counts heartbeats to calm herself. The youngest, barely 20, who keeps asking when the war will end. Daily life is rigid. Wait, count, work, eat, wait. They repair uniforms. Sort supplies. Carry crates stamped with symbols they are told not to recognize. Discipline is strict but inconsistent. One guard offers extra bread. Another punishes eye contact. At night, rumors move faster than sleep. A whispered warning passes bunk to bunk. If your name is called, don't ask why. Someone notices chalk marks on boots. Someone else realizes women are being reassigned, but never reassigned back. And one woman swears she heard her own name. Spoken softly. From behind a locked door. The change doesn't announce itself. It arrives quietly. At first, it's only noticed by those who pay attention to patterns. Roll call still happens, but the timing is off. 5 minutes late one morning. 10 minutes early the next. No explanation. A guard who usually shouts doesn't. He reads names without looking up. One woman realizes something unsettling. The names are no longer in alphabetical order. They're grouped. No one says how. No one explains why. During work detail, the air feels heavier. Not colder, heavier. Tools are issued, then collected again without being used. Crates are opened, inspected, and sealed unchanged. A woman running inventory notices, numbers rewritten in pencil. Then erased. Then rewritten again in a different hand. At lunch, portions are uneven. Not smaller. Different. Some receive bread. Others only broth. No pattern anyone can identify. That's when the silence begins. Not total silence. Selective silence. The guard tower light goes dark one night. No alarm. No announcement. Just darkness where there should be watchful eyes. Inside the barracks, whispers replace conversation. Someone mentions hearing footsteps outside after midnight. Not marching. Standing. Still. One woman claims she heard paper being unfolded, then refolded. Another swears a door opened somewhere it shouldn't exist. The next morning, a notice board stands empty. The orders that were always posted there, work assignments, warnings, schedules, are gone. Not removed carefully. Scraped off. Faint chalk marks remain, like ghosts of instructions. A senior guard is seen arguing with an officer near the administration building. Their voices are low, urgent. One sentence carries across the yard. It was never approved. Approved by whom? That afternoon, the women are told to remain inside longer than usual. No reason given. Through the small window slats, they see unfamiliar boots crossing the yard. Different pattern. Different pace. One woman notices something that makes her stomach tighten. The guards are carrying sidearms they don't usually wear on routine duty. Inside the barracks, tension settles into the walls. A nurse checks pulse points, hers and others, pretending it's medical routine. A former clerk begins memorizing faces, just in case records disappear. Someone hides a scrap of paper inside her clothing. On it only a date. No explanation. No one sleeps properly. Every sound feels intentional. A cough becomes a signal. A dropped cup feels like a test. Then comes the smallest sign of all. And the most frightening. A guard enters briefly. He looks at the women, looks away, and says quietly, "Be ready tomorrow." Nothing more. No time. No instruction. Just that. When he leaves, no one speaks. Because they all understand the same thing. Whatever is coming has already been decided, and no one is certain whether obedience or resistance will matter at all. Morning arrives without a signal. No whistle. No shouted command. The women wake on their own, one by one, as if sleep has simply given up on them. The air feels wrong. Too still. When the door opens, it is done carefully. Not kicked. Not rushed. A guard steps inside and reads names. Not loudly. Not angrily. Almost gently. Each name lands heavier than the last. A pause follows every third name, as if someone outside is counting. No one asks questions. They've learned that questions make things worse. The selected women are told to stand apart. No destination is mentioned. Outside, the yard looks unchanged, but details don't line up. The truck is already running. It shouldn't be. The engine idles, then stops, then idles again. An officer unfolds a document. Not the same one from before. This one is thinner. He reads silently first. His jaw tightens. He reads again. Still no explanation. The women are arranged in rows, not by height, not by rank. By something else. No one knows what. A woman notices chalk marks on the ground. Faint. Recently brushed away. Someone else realizes the guards are positioned differently today. Closer. Not threatening. Contained. A command is given. Simple. Step forward. Stop. Wait. Each instruction arrives late, as if it's being reconsidered in real time. A clerk steps forward to take notes. Then hesitates. Then puts the pencil away. The officer notices. Says nothing. A box is brought out. Not opened. just placed between them. The sound of the lid shifting slightly is enough to make several women flinch. Another order is issued, then withdrawn. A guard clears his throat. Someone whispers a prayer, not loudly enough to be punished, but loud enough to be heard. Time stretches. Minutes feel counted individually. The officer looks toward the administration building. No signal comes. He checks his watch. Twice. Then something unexpected happens. A new figure approaches. Different uniform. Different posture. He does not look at the women first. He looks at the paperwork. Reads. Pauses. Reads again. Then asks a single question. Where is the authorization copy? No one answers. Because no one has it. The silence after that question is the longest silence yet. The officer swallows. Says the order came verbally. The new figure doesn't respond immediately. He walks to the truck. Looks inside. Then closes the door slowly. Another pause. Then quietly. Stand down. Not shouted. Not announced. Just spoken. Some guards don't move at first. They're waiting for confirmation. It doesn't come. Finally, the women are told to return to the barracks. No dismissal. No relief. Just movement. As they walk back, one woman notices something that chills her. The box is gone. So is the document. That evening, no one mentions what happened. No report is filed. No explanation is given. But everyone understands the same thing. They were closer to something irreversible than they will ever be able to prove. And whatever that command was meant to do, it nearly happened. The response does not come immediately. That in itself is unusual. After an incident, any incident, there are normally forms. Questions. Reprimands. This time there is nothing. The next morning begins exactly like the one before. Same roll call. Same work details. No mention of the assembly. No mention of the truck. No mention of the order that nearly changed everything. But small things begin to surface. A clerk notices that the logbook for the previous day has been replaced. Not edited. Replaced. The handwriting is different. The ink is fresher. Several hours are missing entirely. When she asks about it, she's told the original book was damaged. She is not shown the damage. A medical officer quietly reviews attendance sheets. The numbers don't add up. Everyone who stood in the yard is still present. Yet the sheets suggest nothing out of the ordinary occurred. No unusual movements. No special assembly. Someone has rewritten reality. Guards begin behaving differently. Not harsher. More careful. They avoid eye contact. One refuses to answer a routine question and instead says, "I wasn't here yesterday." But the women remember him clearly. The truck remains in the yard for 2 more days. Never loaded. Never driven. Then one morning it's gone. No departure time logged. No destination listed. A visiting officer arrives from outside the camp. Higher authority, at least on paper. He asks standard questions. Food. Discipline. Order. Then casually. Any irregularities this week? The camp commander answers too quickly. No. The officer studies him for a moment. Then nods. But later, the women notice something unsettling. The officer does not request records. He already has them. During inspection, several guards are reassigned. Not punished. Moved. One disappears entirely. No farewell. No explanation. Inside the barracks, the women begin comparing memories quietly. Each remembers the same things, the same pauses, the same missing document, the same unanswered question about authorization. But when one woman tries to write it down, her paper is confiscated that night. No accusation, just removal, and a warning spoken without threat. Some things are not meant to be recorded. Days pass, then weeks. The war ends. The camp opens. Interrogators arrive. They ask about conditions, about treatment, about incidents. When the women mention the assembly, the interrogators exchange looks. Ask them to be specific. Dates, names, documents, none exist. Only memory. One investigator later admits, quietly, if it isn't written, it didn't happen. And yet, someone went to great effort to make sure it wasn't written, which raises the question no one officially answers. Why erase something that was supposedly routine? And who decided that forgetting was safer than explaining? When the war ends, certainty does not arrive with it. Instead, questions multiply. With no surviving orders, no signed authorizations, and no official acknowledgments, the incident becomes something else entirely. A space where theories grow. One explanation suggests the command was real, but meaningless by the time it arrived. In the final weeks of the war, communication collapsed. Orders crossed paths. Chains of command fractured. Verbal instructions replaced written ones. According to this theory, the assembly was part of a larger evacuation or transfer plan, one that never fully materialized. But there is a problem. Evacuations leave trails. Fuel logs, routes, receipts. Here there are none. And evacuations are not erased after being canceled. They are postponed. So why remove every trace? Another explanation is whispered only in private, that the order was never about movement, but about resolution. In the chaos of defeat, some local authorities may have believed they were acting on unwritten expectations. Not official policy, not documented orders, just assumptions about what was expected in the end. If so, the sudden arrival of an outside officer changes everything. His question about authorization suggests doubt. And doubt at that moment would have been enough to stop everything. But if this theory were true, why were no investigations opened later? Why were no charges filed? Unless silence itself was considered preferable. A quieter theory proposes something different. That the women were not the purpose of the order, but the excuse. Some historians believe the assembly may have been staged to justify something else happening at the same time. A transfer of materials, the destruction of files, the removal of someone more important. The women were gathered, counted, delayed, while something unseen occurred elsewhere in the camp. If this is true, it explains the confusion, the hesitations, the rewritten logs, and the urgency to erase memory afterward. But it raises a darker question. What was important enough to use human lives as a distraction? The final theory is the simplest, and sometimes the most uncomfortable. That the order was born from fear, a misunderstanding, a rushed decision, a chain of people afraid to admit they didn't know what to do. Once the danger passed, everyone involved chose the same solution. Forget it. Erase it. Because acknowledging the mistake would have meant responsibility. And responsibility in that moment was more dangerous than silence. Each theory explains part of the story. None explain all of it, because one detail remains constant. Someone ensured there would be no proof, no single signature, no final page, no answer strong enough to survive history, which leaves only memory. And memory, as historians know, is fragile, selective, and easily dismissed. So the question remains, was the hidden order abandoned because it was wrong, or because it was interrupted, just in time, to be denied forever? And that question leads directly to the final silence. Years later, the camp no longer exists. The fences are gone. The barracks dismantled. The yard where the women once stood is now ordinary ground, quiet, unmarked. Grass grows where boots once stopped. Historians search archives. They find transport lists, medical files, daily ration counts, but they never find the order. No carbon copy, no margin note, no approval stamp, only gaps. In interviews, former prisoners describe the same morning in almost the same words. The stillness, the waiting, the sense that something had already been decided without them. One woman, much older now, pauses when asked why the memory stayed with her. She answers slowly, "Because we were ready." Ready for what, she never says. Another survivor recalls the moment the command was withdrawn. Not relief, not gratitude, confusion. Because once an order is spoken, even briefly, it cannot be unheard. And somewhere, someone believed it could have been carried out. That realization lingers longer than fear. The records may be silent, but silence is not proof of innocence. It is only proof of absence. The opening question remains: why were only the women assembled? Why did the paperwork disappear? And why did everyone involved agree, without being told, to forget? Perhaps the most unsettling possibility is this: that the hidden order was not extraordinary at all. That it was one of many commands, issued quietly, in the final days of chaos. And that this one survives only because it hesitated, because it stopped, because someone, somewhere, asked a question at the exact wrong or right moment. Where is the authorization? So ask yourself, if that question had never been spoken, would there be anything left to investigate? Or would history record nothing at all? Speech balloon, what do you think the hidden order was truly meant to do? Speech balloon, was it abandoned out of doubt or convenience? Share your theory in the comments. And remember, not every decision in history leaves evidence. Some leave only silence. And silence, too, can be a warning. If stories like this matter to you, like, subscribe, and share, so the questions history tried to erase are never forgotten again.